Hello YouTube. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If you are not, and thank you so much for your support. I don't have makeup on today. I left all of my makeup in the car, which my fiance takes to work at night, and it's still in there from the last event that I did. But yeah, you get to see me with very minimal makeup, and I mean minimal as in like I attempted to give myself eyebrows and then I put lipstick on and then wiped it off because I don't really look good in lipstick. And I also just got out of the shower, so my hair is a mess. It has been a hot second since I've done a video. I am preparing for yet another event that is coming up next weekend. So I have a lot going on. I'm not getting videos out as quickly as I had intended, but that is okay. So that is why I kind of look like a mess today, because I had a couple of minutes to spend doing this video and I just decided I really needed to buckle down and just do it before something else came up. I've been working on bags and pelts and all kinds of things that I'm going to be selling at this event. It is called the Full Moon Festival, and it is a outdoor rave held on the Fear Farm grounds. And if you don't know what Fear Farm is, it is a really, really large outdoor haunted house here in Arizona that I worked at as in the makeup department for 6 years of my life. So it is going to be interesting going back to that place when it's not Fear Farm. I've never been to this event. I just decided this is the year of doing. So that's what I'm calling it. 2024 is the year of doing. So I saw this event. I applied for it a while ago. They didn't get back to me, and now they did get back to me with very short notice. And now I'm preparing for it. So I'm making all kinds of things. I'm doing like these pelts, which I usually do more like costumey, like biking type stuff. But I decided because it's a rave that I wanted to make some like really fun colors, so I do those. And then I'm also making tarot card bags because there are going to be tarot readings there supposedly, because it is a full moon like pagan sort of festival. And these like cell phone bags that I just started making that, well, I was gonna show you how a cell phone fit in it, and I realized I film my videos with my cell phone. But anyways, it fits a cell phone and credit cards and driver's licenses, and that's it, and it goes on your belt. I made these not really intending to sell them until recently, because the Arizona Renaissance Festival is also coming up here in Arizona, and I always need something to hold all of my things without bringing a purse and distracting from the costumes that I wear to these festivals. But anyways, that was my rant for this video, because there always has to be some sort of a like tangent at the beginning of the video. So I will get into what I actually wanted to talk to you guys about today, and that is age gap romance. Age gap is not something that I seek out. It's not something that I've ever, searched for, but it is something that I've come across quite a few times. And I've also realized in coming across it quite a few times that I'm very, very picky about it. There are a lot of age gap books out there that I have read that I did not like. They came off very, very creepy, and if you are into the age gap genre, I will never judge anybody for what they read, but me personally, I'm very particular about it because I read it for the romance aspect, and I want to feel comfortable reading it, if that makes sense. So the ones that I chose today, and it's not a top 5, because top 5 would entail that I had 5 suggestions for you, and I really couldn't come up with a top 5. So I have more than 5 to recommend, and they are by only 2 or 3 authors. So I decided to just include all of them. And if you guys want to read them, then go ahead. If not, that is totally fine. I assume everybody here knows what age gap romance is. And if you don't, a really quick rundown of it is exactly what it sounds like. It is age gap. It is where one of the partners in the relationship is much older than the other. It could be the male, the female, the male in a male and male relationship, and vice versa, whatever. It just means that there is a large gap in age with the two people. So, and that could be a very interesting dynamic depending on how the story is written. And I decided to exclude any supernatural type of things, like a 20-year-old getting together with a 3,000-year-old vampire, because that is a little bit different, and I feel like that is unrelatable. I wanted to stick with more like relatable sort of stories. And these are the ones that I enjoyed greatly. Not because of the age gap per se, but because they were good stories. And the gap in age was definitely something very significant to the story and the characters. So let's get started. The first one on the list is The King's Spinster Bride by Ruby Dixon. This is a very short read. It is set in a fantasy world where you have these sort of like barbarians, and I don't remember what they were called. I read this book a very long time ago. I don't remember what they were called, but there is some sort of initiation that these warriors go through that requires them to pluck out one of their eyes. And so I'm pretty sure that their name was something derived from Cyclops, and I can't remember what it is. It could just be as simple as like Cyclopeans or something like that, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, so if I remember correctly, these two nations are at war. That the female of this story is a princess, a fully grown adult princess of this enemy nation or whatever. And she ends up finding a child from this like barbarian clan who is enslaved or imprisoned or something, and she ends up taking pity on him and taking him sort of under her wing to protect him, and then eventually he gets free. This young boy, ends up going back to his clan or his tribe or whatever it's called in the book, and he remembers this princess from childhood to adulthood until he is basically like the chieftain of this tribe or of these people. He's been in love with her for a very long time, and now she is considered a spinster. He comes over, deciding to make peace with these people by taking her hand in marriage. And there is a lot more to it. I know that there is some sort of a political aspect to it where she is actually being kept from her throne, and so that's why she is not queen of her nation. And so there's a lot more to it, but the main premise is that he fell in love with her when he was a child because she was protecting him, and as an adult came to marry her and save her nation and his nation, technically. So it was actually a really sweet story. I liked it because the woman was actually the older one, which you don't find too often. Is usually the other half. So I thought it was interesting. Nice, short read. He's very, very sweet. And yeah. The next one that I have on my list is Latte Darling by S.J. Tilley. This is a contemporary romance. The age gap is not too horribly crazy. The female is actually well into adulthood. I think she's in her mid to late 20s. And the man is 50s or 60s. The book starts out with our female, a very small, curvaceous woman who is trying out online dating because she is lonely. And she ends up meeting or agreeing to meet with this man that she met online at a coffee shop. Or no, it's a bar. Supposedly, this man that she agreed to meet was not very old. He was of age, but he wasn't, he was much younger than her. And he decides to stand her up. But the interesting thing is that his father catches wind of this, and being the polite man that he is, decides to go in person to this date to inform the woman that his son is going to be standing her up and that he is very sorry. Except when he gets there, he just can't do that. He decides to actually sit down for the date with her because she's just so adorable. And so she ends up dating the father of the man that she was supposed to meet at this bar. And he is this like sexy silver fox. He's got a beard. He's covered in tattoos. He's very large, and they're complete opposites in a lot of ways. And it was really, really cute. He's a very possessive hero. He very much wants to take care of her, and it was really cute. Like, if you're looking for something low angst that's very, very cute, very contemporary, I would recommend this book all the way. I loved it. It was adorable. The next ones on this list are all by the same author, and I actually I happen to love this author. I usually, if I see her name attached to a book, I will usually pick it up. And that is Carian Cole. And the first one on the list of Carian Cole age gap romance books is Tide, which is number 2 in All Torn Up. And this was the first book, I believe, that I ever read of hers, and it is very traumatic. If you have not read Carian Cole before, she deals a lot with past traumas. She deals a lot with emotional and mental issues. So sometimes it can get a little bit heavy in that sense. And this book was no exception. So this book is about a man who did some bad things when he was younger in his stupid years. And it ended up with him having some permanent injuries and some permanent deformations or scarring that kind of makes him beastly. He lives out in the woods on his own in solitude for a lot of reasons, because first, he scares people, and second, he doesn't like people. So he lives out in the woods and he has like his own little log cabin. There was an accident at some point in his life that severed his vocal cords, so he can't really talk, and when he does talk, it sounds very gravelly or something. It doesn't sound right. So he's very solitary, very isolated. He's walking around in the woods one day and he hears something. Doesn't know what it is. He finds this hatch in the middle of the forest, and in that hatch is a small girl who has been kidnapped and has been kept. Well, she's not a small girl, she's a teenage girl, but she still has the mentality of a young child, because she was kidnapped as a young child and kept by a very sick man and hidden and not educated, and a lot of things happen to her, and she doesn't have the ability to interact with people, or she doesn't have the education of somebody who should be an adult. So he saves her. And this girl who was stuck in this situation and only had like these child's books about like Prince Charming and princesses and stuff, sort of made up this whole idea. I believe she's 16 when he finds her. She gets this whole idea that this man, even though he looks crazy, like monstrous, is her Prince Charming, and that he rescued her. And then it jumps forward 2 years after she's been through a lot of therapy, and her, people are trying to reintegrate her into society, but she obviously has a lot of like PTSD issues. She has a lot of anxiety and things like that. But she wants to reconnect with the man who saved her life, who has made no attempt whatsoever to contact her. And she kind of pushes her way into his life, and he's very reluctant to have her in his life, but then it ends up, they've both been through so much. They've both had a lot of trauma in their life, and they kind of find each other's company to be a comfort. And I just thought it was a really, really pretty story. They're both so flawed in a lot of ways, and they both think each other are just like beautiful, and they cherish each other, and it ends up being just really, really sweet, and it's a tearjerker. So if you don't like tearjerkers, maybe don't read it, but I thought it was beautiful. The age gap is in the fact that she is only 18 and I believe he is in his, I want to say 30s, but he is very, very much full-on adult. And there's some twists and turns in there that will really get you, I don't want to say anything, but read it. If you're okay with all the things that I said, read it. It's a beautiful story. The next Carian Cole book that I have is called Don't Kiss the Bride, and I believe this is a standalone. Her books do cross over a lot, like there are repeating characters, but a lot of them are standalones and don't need to be read in a series. Don't Kiss the Bride is about a girl who is, I believe she's still in high school. She is 18, but she is still in high school. And I can't remember if she got held back or what, but she has some issues, and she lives in a situation that is not healthy for her or these issues. She lives in a situation that created some of these issues. And this man, I don't remember his name, obviously, like very, very sexy, like very grown up man with beard, tattoos. She has a style when it comes to her men in her books. Carian definitely has a style or a taste. And so this guy he happens to see this young girl having car trouble. And he battles the idea of helping her in the first place initially because she is very young and he thought it would come off as creepy. But they end up he ends up giving her a ride home and they start talking. He starts to slowly learn about her situation and the fact that she has some medical issues that are not being addressed, and decides, after they build up this friendship, that he has this crazy idea to marry her, only so that she can use his insurance to seek the medical help that she needs and is clearly being denied. So they agree, And that is why it's called Don't Kiss the Bride. Is kind of something that they, like a rule they came up with when they first got married, so that they don't, ever cross that line of friendship, because it's kind of, it's more practical for them to be married than it is emotional. So they are married. She uses his insurance to get the medical help that she needs. And it's pretty predictable from that point on, because they're living together, they're already really close friends, they start helping each other through emotional issues, and one thing leads to another, and yeah, I thought it was really, really cute. Surprisingly low angst for Kenne Cole, in comparison to her other books. And I don't know, I just really liked it. If it sounds like something that floats your boat, I would absolutely pick it up, and then pick up every one of Kenne Cole's other books. The last Kenne Cole book I have on here is called Lukas, and this is another very low angst book for her. And there is another age gap that I wanted to mention today, but I am saving it for my taboo romance list that I'm compiling, because I highly believe it is more taboo than it is age gap. So I will not be mentioning that, but Lukas is a age gap romance, and it is in the Ashes and Embers series. It's number 3. That is a series you don't need to read in order, in my opinion. Obviously, if you read them all, you will get a really, a much better picture of all the side characters, because each book is about different characters and their different journeys, but they don't need to be read in order. Lukas is a young tattoo artist, and he is pretty established. He has a tattoo parlor in some old church where he does tattooing downstairs and lives upstairs. And he crosses paths with this mother who I believe she just went through a divorce. So she's having some internal mental issue or emotional issues. She has children, and she decides, now that I'm divorced, I'm going to just make my own decisions. I'm going to go my own way. I'm going to do my own thing. She decides the first step in doing that is to get a tattoo. So she goes and she gets a tattoo from Lukas. They start talking. The cute part about this is that Lukas is the one that pursues her, because he's very mature, and he finds himself to be very attracted to this single mother, and kind of tries helping her come out of her shell and be more independent. And again, it's another book where the female is the older one, and I just thought that was really refreshing, because it is a book about a woman who finally gained her independence and started making her own decisions, and ended up finding a man who respected her and loved her, and they were able to put aside their age difference. And I just thought it's another really sweet one, another very low angst one in comparison to other Kenne Cole books. So if you're into more low angst, less stress, I would recommend that one. The next one on the list is another one by Ruby Dixon, and it is Sam's Secret. And it is in the Ice Home series. I can't remember which one because I did not write it down. But the Ice Home series, like most of the books that I talk about on this channel, is a series of books that does not need to be read in order. Each one of them follows different characters. And of course, like I said, reading all of them together will give you a better idea of side characters and the world, but they don't have to be read in order. Sam's Secret is about, if you're not familiar with Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet books, it's about a lot of women who were abducted from Earth and ended up somehow either crash landing or getting stranded on this ice planet that is home to these big blue aliens with horns. And it's a fated mate series, and I'm not going to get into the fated mate aspect of it, but there are scientific reasons why certain people are attracted to each other in this series. And Sam is somebody who comes from, she has some trauma with a past boyfriend who she kind of always is scared, that irrationally afraid that he will somehow find his way to this planet and torment her more than he's already tormented her on Earth. Anyways, she's got some issues, and we have our hero, who I forgot his name, but he is mentioned earlier on in the series as being a child. He is not of age yet. He is not a man yet. I believe he's described as being young and scrawny, and everyone, thinks of him as the child of the group. And in this book, he returns from, I guess he lives in another tribe that is not where Sam lives, or the tribe where Sam lives. He returns from some, for a long absence, having gone through puberty, and is now a man, a very large and very sexy man who resonates. That's what it's called when two people find each other who are compatible in this series, who resonates with Sam, who has never looked at him twice because he is a child to her. And they end up, it's kind of a forced proximity thing as well, because they end up getting stranded in what are called like fruit caves, or not stranded, but they end up there for a while, and things happen. And I guess this is another example of an older woman and a younger man, which I said was rare, but I guess I'm giving a lot of examples. So it doesn't sound rare because I'm giving you guys all the ones that I liked, which are a lot of women being the older ones. But anyways, they're rare when I'm looking for age gap romances. We'll just put it that way. The last one that I have on my list is a much darker book than the ones that I mentioned on the rest of this list, and that is called Dead Love by Audrey Rush. If you like morally gray heroes, or even morally black heroes, then this book is for you. And hero is not really the right word, I guess, to use for this specific character. But anyways, this is a story of some very mentally and emotionally messed up people getting together in a toxic and somehow very interesting relationship that I really enjoyed reading about. So you have this man who works in a funeral home, or he actually owns the funeral home, and he has some very dark thoughts, and eventually, and I mean dark, I'm not going to go super into them, but there are a lot of triggers in this book, so read them before you read the book if you decide to pick this one up. And then you have this girl, this very young girl, who I believe is 18. She might be a tad bit older than that, but she still lives with her parents because her parents are very possessive. And I mean possessive. Her father is like the sheriff of this small town that they live in. Her mother is she has so many insecurities about losing her daughter that she basically, she's possessive to the point of making her wear the exact same outfit as she does every day. You know, almost like she's a mini-me, basically, like to her mother. And all that she wants to do, I don't remember anybody's names as usual, but all that the daughter wants to do is go to college and pursue like botany or something. She really likes plants. And her parents will not let her do that. And there's the backdrop for this is that there's murders going on in this town and around this town. So obviously her father is very like caught up in that. And then you have this guy at the funeral home who's suicidal, murderous, has a lot of morally questionable things going on in his head. And he sees her, this very innocent little like very young woman in town, and decides he's going to break her. It's sort of a sadistic like thought of his to break her, and it is also like he has this really strange justifications going on in his head that if he breaks her then he will free her, because he sees the dynamic between her and her mother and her parents. And so he kidnaps her. He kidnaps her. He does there's a lot that goes on when she gets kidnapped. Like I'm not going to go into it. You just have to read it. I did not think I was going to enjoy it, and I ended up actually really enjoying it. But you have to go in knowing that this is not a Prince Charming situation. This is not a sweet situation. This is a very dark and twisted situation between these two that somehow has a weirdly happy ending for them. And for a couple of other people. Like, it's really hard to explain. So the things that he does end up having a positive effect, in a sense, on people, certain people. But then there's a lot of people that get hurt, and like deep down he's kind of a good guy, but then like he does these things that make him like a really bad guy. And then the girl, like, there's a lot that happens, there's a lot that goes on, there's a lot of bad things that happen, there's a lot of crazy shit. It's a dark romance. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, like, but it's age gap. Like, he is an older man, like he is a middle-aged man, and she is a very young, like wanting to go to college girl. So there's that. Anyways, that is my list for age gap romances. If you guys have read any of these before, let me know your thoughts. If you have any really good age gap romances that I have not mentioned, that I possibly have not read, put them in the comments. I'm always looking for new suggestions. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment. It really helps me out. I'm trying to get to 600 subscribers. And until next time, I hope you guys all have a really wonderful week. I hope you're having a great beginning of 2024, and I hope it just gets better for you all. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!